And I didn't know they put a water hose. Oh well, you talking about?
They flush like.
I mean, an enema. You can give yourself an enema.
Like,
yeah.
You
Okay.
get it. They do professional enemas.
Professional enema.
They put a water hose up your butt, and you become a geyser.
That's okay. I think we got that on.
You never had a water hose put up your butt?
No,
Shane?
sir, I have not.
I got a funny story about something about my butt. No, this is a true story, Shane. This is a true story.
Hey, man. You know what?
If I'm lying, I'm flying.
Okay.
I
mean, I've had a colonoscopy.
As you can see, I can't fly, Shane.
You know.
So look, listen, Shane. I'm embarrassed about this story, but I'm gonna put it out there. I gotta get it. I gotta get it off my chest because this really happened to me.
Okay.
So I got out of the military. I was like 28 years old when I got off active duty.
Okay.
So when you get off active duty, they want to give you a full physical, like full physical.
Okay.
I'm not knowing the definition of full physical.
Full physical.
I'm thinking football, getting ready for football season. High school, they just
touch your toes,
grab my nuts, cough, turn your head.
Okay.
That's what I'm thinking full physical is.
Okay.
This wasn't this type of physical. They did do that, but they went an extra step. So
the doctor went the extra mile.
And went the extra mile. So I knew something was up when they asked me to put a robe on before I even went into the physical. I'm like, I thought I was just gonna drop trowel and
How long does this take?
Yeah, but put the robe on.
Look, I never played football. When I got a physical for basketball, why did they grab your nuts and make you cough? What's going on with that?
You don't remember that? Yeah, they did that.
They never did that to me.
They never did that. They did it to me. Grab your nuts, make you cough. I guess they check.
Was it a doctor or a
making
priest?
Sure you don't got no. He probably was both, Shane. Yeah, they grabbed.
Did they
nuts.
say a prayer?
They grab your nuts and make you cough, Shane. That's what. That was a physical back in my day.
I mean, when I played basketball, I went for a physical, but they didn't.
They never nut checked you.
Nuts did not come into play.
Oh man,
there was no.
You got off all right then.
Yeah, I wasn't traumatized at all.
I guess it's doctor to doctor.
Perv to perv. I don't know. Sounds like some chomo shit to me.
I don't know.
Right.
That's one thing.
I mean, if you're not scarred by it, I'm just curious why they.
I wasn't too upset about the nuts cough thing as a kid. Okay, it's a physical. That's what it was expected. But with this physical, this really messed me up. So after he did whatever he did, like the normal what you think a physical should take, he said bend over, and as he said bend over, he's gloving up and pulls out this jar of lube. Like Vaseline grease looking lube. And I'm like, what you bend over for what? He's like, we got to check your prostate. I'm 28 years old.
Yeah, what do you...
I'm not expecting a prostate exam.
Right.
And this is old guy, about your height, but maybe 65, 70. Old guy with some big ass hands. When the guy tell you checking his prostate, you look at his hands. You look at his hands.
That's a fact. Yeah, you do.
And and I can't help but look at his hands because he's putting his glove on.
Putting the glove on right there.
Up,
yeah, he's showing you. Yeah,
like an evil mad scientist. Like, and it's like in slow motion, right? And I'm like, what's going on? He's like, we got to check your prostate. So just, bend over and relax. And he said relax.
Relax, yeah.
It wasn't no relaxing. So as soon as he put he lubed me up, and it was cold. That makes you tense up.
Right.
And then as he's lubing me up, you could just feel him trying to find my anus.
Right.
And there it is. He go knuckle deep.
Yeah.
But the more he pushed, the more I squeeze. And he's like, you got to relax. And I'm like, I can't relax.
How you supposed to relax?
How you supposed to relax in this situation? I don't see how people relax in this situation. So
did you offer me nitrous?
The harder he pushed, the harder I squeezed.
Yeah, right.
So long story short, I think it hurt me even more because I squeezed. So moral of the story, if you have to go through this, you have to relax. So the next 2 days, I felt exposed. Like I just felt like a draft.
Yeah.
If a draft came by, I felt like it went up my butthole.
Yeah, that's a weird thing.
I was open.
Yeah.
I was wide open, Shane.
I've had a prostate exam before.
It's weird. Like
I've had a colonoscopy. You know what the worst part of a colonoscopy? Everybody says, "Oh, it's the fasting ahead of time. It's the this and that." I'm gonna tell you what the very worst part of it.
Okay.
You laying on the table. There's nurses all around. Some of them are male. Some of them are female. There's probably 4 people around your bed. And the head dude, the one that's gonna, you got the mask right there where he's about to give you the stuff. You wearing a robe and nothing else because what's
they
happening.
put you to sleep though.
They put you fully to sleep.
You can't help but relax.
Oh yeah,
you're not awake doing the thing.
When they perform that procedure, yeah, because they stick a tube with a camera and this tube has a camera and a light and a grabber and a suction thing. So, like, if they find a polyp, they get it right then. They go exploring with this camera. I'm making a motion with my hand.
Camera on a tube.
A camera on a tube, and they go up your butt into your intestines, I guess your colon, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And if they find a polyp, they take it out while they're in there. You don't have to come back in. That used to be they'd have to cut you open or whatever to get that out. Now they got a deal that just snips that polyp off, and then they will show you a color picture of it when you sit down across from the doctor. He'll hand you pictures of what they found in your nether regions, in your hind quarters, up your booty. As
in your hind quarters.
Who was it? When Eddie Murphy had a song called "Up Your Butt." It's just a silly song about stick a telephone pole, stick a tin can up your butt, stick a little man up your butt.
And that was Richard Gere, man. That wasn't Eddie Murphy. That was Richard Gere from what was that, Dirty Dancing? What was that?
Richard Gere sang a song about up your butt.
Remember he stuck that gerbil up his butt and it got stuck in his butt? He had to go.
No.
You remember that one?
No.
Am I making that up?
I don't know. I hope so.
Is that rumor mill?
I mean, I've heard of that. I think there's a name for it. I don't remember what it is, but
Richard Gere stuck a gerbil up his butt. But
in real life, you talking about?
I think in real life, Shane had to go to the hospital. That like ruined his career.
As it does.
I mean, that's what I heard.
Anyways, the worst part of a colonoscopy.
Go ahead. We'll go down a rabbit hole.
You're laying on the bed in your little gown. There's nurses all around, and the head guy goes, "Mr. Knox, would you please turn on your side and draw your knees up to your chest?"
This is before you sleep.
They're about to put the mask on you. The only thing that makes this bearable is as soon as you do this particular action, they're going to put the mask on you, and you're going to be out. But right there in front of God and everybody, you got to turn over on your side and draw your knees up. To give them access to the parts where they're going to need to have access to. And you got nurses sitting around like, okay, we finna, yes, sir, we all going to be up in there.
We finna violate you.
Yep.
It was wrong, Shane.
But here's the thing, and I tell my son this, and I tell any young man this, I think, we tell these jokes, about proctologists and stuff, but here's the thing. They found 3 polyps.
Wow.
In my colon, and as I sat down across from him and the doctor gave me the colors, he said, now, I've been doing this for 20 years. He said, that one right there, that's no big deal. These 2 right over here, we're going to be cancer.
Wow.
He said, I'm just telling you now. He said, we biopsied them and they're good. You don't have any problems now. But in my professional experience, these 2 polyps that we took out right here were going to be cancer. My grandfather died of colon cancer. My aunt is missing like 5 feet of, you know what I'm saying? Like I got a family history of this.
Wow.
So whatever embarrassment I had to have to, draw your knees up to your chest.
It was well worth it.
It's well worth it.
Yeah. And I'm not speaking against it. I'm just telling you my experience
I'm speaking against
when
it,
I got that
finger
finger up my butt, man.
It's no fun. But for your health.
Fun. Yeah,
for your health, do what needs to be done. Now, I don't know why
if they
at 28
can catch something early
they needed to do a prostate exam.
It was an exit exam for veterans. It was just I don't know if I was the.
What was it? An exit exam or an entrance exam? It sounded like you.
It sounded like it was an entrance. It was an entrance
into an exit only. What was that Prince song? They want in through the outdoor. He wore a raspberry beret.
Yes, it was horrible. I mean, horrible. Like I was messed up for 2 days, literally. Like I couldn't even. Like I would sit on one cheek. Like I just felt different about myself.
Yeah,
that's why I say, God, man. Look,
but you got to do
if you could take that, you more of a man than me.
Do you go to the gynecologist with your wife?
No, but I will.
Okay.
I would if I had to. Like I went to all her babies appointments, and they do they check. They do whatever they do.
They do whatever they do.
Yeah. So
when it comes to health, sometimes you got to leave your dignity at the door.
You really do.
And do what's necessary to be done.
Well said, Shane. Yes, that's totally agreed. Totally agreed.
Well, I'm not sure exactly where in this conversation we started, but to our faithful listeners, first of all, I hope you're still listening.
I just thought about that story. I don't know even how I brought it up.
We've been talking about proctologist issues, I suppose. But you know what? As a man, I wish somebody would have sat me down. I wish my father would have told me some of these things.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, look, son, you got to do what you got to do.
I think I'm at 40, so I'm thinking I'm at that age where I probably need to start getting those checks.
I think they
annually.
recommend a colonoscopy at 50, I think.
Okay.
Unless you have a family history, and then it's up to the doctor.
Which I don't think I do.
So if you don't have a family history, I think they recommend your first colonoscopy at 50. But if the insurance covers it, listen, it's not that big of a deal. You got to fast
and
for 24
the sooner
hours.
the better.
I guess.
To catch anything.
If you catch it,
anything,
the sooner the better. You will die of colon cancer. That will kill your ass.
It will.
And all the rest of you, too.
Wow.
Well, let's get this party officially started.
You coming with the quips tonight.
Let's get this party started.
Back by popular demand.
Back by popular demand.
Hey, cue the messenger, shake the brain.
Here we are, that 86 Kid Studio.
Shout out that 86 Kid Studio.
Our secret underground lair in Huntsville, Alabama, with our co-host Q the Messenger and our illustrious producer, Kevin the Boss Man Richardson. I'm Shane the Brain, and this is Vendor Chronicles. Let's go.
Come on, let's go, Shane. The Proctologist.
Well, let me first
That's
start.
a hell of a way to start an episode.
That is a hell of a way. But I'm going to start the official now that we've introed.
Okay, yeah,
I've been holding back.
You've been holding
for like an hour now.
Oh, you got something you need to tell me.
No,
you got to get off
a
your
fresh
chest.
new cut, man. You got a nice cut, man. You cut your hair.
I keep it fresh.
Yeah, but it's a little extra fresh.
When you cut your own, hair, you can stay fresh.
Listen, man, I've been lazy about cutting mine, and I need to. I've even been letting my beard grow out. I don't like having.
I've been cutting my hair. I've been cutting my hair, Shane, literally since I was probably 12 years old.
Really?
I would say from the time I was 12 to 40, I probably only been to the barbershop 5 times.
Really?
From 12 to 40.
I used to go and have somebody cut my hair, but it's been 10 years since.
You couldn't even afford it now.
Probably not.
It's easily 40, $45.
I'm not paying $40 to cut my hair. No, I got.
And trust me, I haven't always been as good at it.
Oh, I'm sure.
I'm pretty decent at it.
I just buzzed mine down, but that's a nice fade you got going on. I noticed it. Yeah, it looks good.
Appreciate it. I cut mine in Enzo hair last night. Then
I couldn't.
My oldest son, he was going to Panama Beach. He wanted me to cut his hair.
Okay.
And so I said, he's about to go off to college. I'm like, son, you need to learn how to cut your own hair. You about to leave the house. I was like, I won't cut your hair, but I walk you through it every step of the way.
Okay. All right. Good deal.
So I cut Enzo hair first just to show him the process of it. And I think he has a little bit of understanding because he watched me cut his hair, and I've been cutting his hair since he was a baby.
Okay.
I think he's been to the barbershop once.
Okay.
With him. And the only time we went to the barbershop is because we had to go for a wedding, and I didn't bring my clippers with us when we got to the place of the wedding. So we went to a barbershop. In his life, in 18 years, he's been to the barbershop once.
Okay.
But last night, I was like, look, here you go. Think about what you want to do, and let's execute it. Think about where you're going and where you been when you're cutting your hair. So if you know the 2 is the highest guard you used on your head, you can put a 2 on and you can't mess up nothing because that's the highest guard anyway. So I'm just telling them these different steps, different tricks, to blend out lines and stuff. Okay, when you blending out lines, you want to use your corner. You don't want to use a flat blade because that's just going to make another line. So you use your corner or your clipper to blend out a line.
Okay.
Like if you was drawing a line on a piece of paper, straight line, you want to blend that line, you're going to use the corner of the clipper and just kind of blur it out. You want to make it blurry. That's the goal.
I have no such skills.
With the fade. Well, you don't cut your hair like I cut my hair.
Yeah, no.
You don't fade your hair. You just buzz, right? Yeah, you don't fade. You don't fade your hair. So these are tips and tricks I'm telling you that took me 20 years to learn.
Right. And doing it yourself, you can't see it as well, and you got to be reaching back there and do it. That's got to be doubly hard. You got to be easier to
use a mirror and all that stuff, But he wouldn't execute. He wouldn't do it.
So you don't want to mess up your hair.
He was like, Dad, just do it this one last time. I don't want to mess up because he's going to vacation with some friends. He want to be looking fly for the pictures.
Understood.
And I was like, look, son, I'm not gonna do it for you, but I'm gonna hold your hand the whole process. Even if he did mess up, I would have helped him. I wouldn't have let him go bald in this situation. But he never even took the initial step. So since you can't help somebody that don't want to help themselves.
So did you make him go get it cut, or what ended up happening? You just let him go?
I told him I'm finna go back to watching TV, doing what I'm doing. And I left him in the bathroom. I said, clean up the little hair that me and Enzo made and put my clippers away.
So did he cut it, or
nope?
He didn't cut it.
Didn't even cut it.
Just left it like it is.
Yep, left it like it was.
Is he already in Panama Beach?
Yeah, he left this morning.
Okay,
he did there a couple hours ago.
All right.
So I think it's a lesson in this that when he gets back, I'm gonna tell him, like, look, son, you got to be willing to take initiative in your own life. You got to be willing to help your own self before you expect someone else to help you. Because that was the whole goal.
You did put him under pressure, though, by making him do it the first time by himself just before he goes to the beach with his friends.
But I was going to be there every step of the way. All he had to do is take the initial step. If he would have messed up, it would have been something we could easily fix. I wouldn't have let him do nothing where he would have had to go ball.
Okay.
But I didn't give him that reassurance. All I told him is I'm fit to be here with you. I didn't go past that. I'm going to be here every step of the way, and I'm going to tell you what to do, how to do it.
I mean, eventually his hair's going to have to be cut, and he's got to figure something out.
He's about to go off to college. He's going to have to figure something out anyway.
Figure it out anyway,
regardless. Or he's going to be walking around with an afro.
Where's he going to school?
USA.
An afro's harder to keep trimmed than
University of South Alabama.
University of South
But
Alabama.
it's two lessons also in this. I was thinking about it earlier today. I was like, it's also the lesson of, I've been cutting your hair for 18 years.
Right.
Countless of haircuts whenever you need a haircut.
Oh,
only one you going to remember now is this one.
Mm.
The real world is just like that. Whatever, what they going to remember what you just did.
What you did last.
You did last. And if you messed up that one time out of 18 years of service or whatever you did, that all goes away.
Yep.
So I'm gonna ask him, what does he think about me for this one time I didn't cut his hair out of 18 years of his life? Am I the bad guy? Because this one time I didn't cut your hair,
yeah.
And I done gave you countless of hair. You can't even count how many haircuts I gave you over your lifetime.
I like that perspective. Yeah, that's a cool perspective.
So I'm gonna see how he look. This one time I didn't do it,
and it'll be a growth. Yeah, that'll be
and that's a lesson in life,
and it'll be a life lesson for him.
It's gonna be a life lesson for him as a man.
Funny how so many times life lessons are hard to swallow.
They are
like nasty medicine,
Yep. But I don't know. Did you have anything? Were you trying to go somewhere?
No. I was complimenting your haircut.
Thank you.
I figured it would go down a rabbit hole of some kind.
It did.
But I noticed it when you first rolled up a while ago. We ran into a good friend of ours, Miss Danica. I always want to call her Danica because of that crazy race car driver. Danica, I can't remember your last name now. But shout out Danica and Trey and your lovely family. I was at that was whose wedding I was at that night. I came down here and
yes, it was.
And had
where'd y'all go to Gunnersville? Where'd y'all go for that wedding?
No, it was in Scottsboro.
Scottsboro. Yeah. Okay.
I was in Scottsboro. It was a venue out there I'd never even heard of before. It was a pretty cool little spot. Nice place to have a wedding. Yeah.
Wow.
The bride was lovely and the groom was handsome. And the children
bride was lovely and the groom was handsome.
Children were above average and happy.
Okay.
So there you go. Good time was had by all.
Good time was had. Hey, sometimes you just win a genetic lottery in life, Shane.
Some folks win a genetic lottery. You know what? I think I'm somewhere in the middle.
I lost the genetic lottery, Shane. I'm short, man. I think I should be able to file for disability.
Napoleon was short.
Napoleon
was short. He conquered the world.
He did. Or at least Europe. I don't know.
He was pissed off about being short was the whole thing.
Yeah. Short should be a disability.
You know that thing about Napoleon having his hand inside of his coat when he had pictures taken?
They said he had a messed up hand,
I think it's a myth. Yeah, I saw something else that said that whole thing was a myth. He just happened to...
That's what gentlemen did, I think, when they took pictures back then.
Just put their hand in their coat, maybe? That was like a pose or something? That was a thing
I
don't know.
Upper echelon of gentlemen people did.
It's crazy to think about how customs like that got started back in a time before the internet. You see a king doing something like putting their hand in their coat.
I'm just put my hand in my coat.
Yeah, now everybody's doing it and nobody knows why,
The king did it. You think about everything we do is made up.
It really is.
Everything.
Everything we do is made up.
Made up by someone else.
Somewhere.
Who out there got an original thing that they do that they made up?
Well, now, okay, so... That's an interesting thought.
Everything is made up, Shane. All the words we're saying right now are made up.
They are, but they're also constantly changing.
Come up these, yeah, that's true.
They're also constantly changing, evolving. We've talked about language and slang, but slang becomes, actual part of language.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you texting nowadays. LOL.
Oh my goodness. I mean, I use LOL and I'm old.
Everybody
uses LOL. Not on the cutting edge, but we all say
you might even go in further and turn it to an emoji. Like when I hit LOL, it give me the smiley face. So then I just hit smiley face.
Yep.
And don't even have to say LOL.
It's a whole new
we talking damn hieroglyphs.
But somebody had to invent
like the hieroglyphs on the wall. We talking in pictures now.
Oh, good point. I never thought about that.
We evolving back. So is hieroglyph the total evolutionary apex of words?
Ooh.
Did I say about full with that one, Shay?
That's something interesting to think about.
Is that what we're going to eventually evolve back into?
We always talk about ancient civilizations, and we talk about anything that's different from us. We always talk about it in a, like American Indians. Ooh, they were so in tune with the land. No, not really. No, they really weren't.
They could speak to buffalo, Shay.
Yeah, they could
communicate with sun.
And they would drive an entire herd of hundreds of buffalo off a cliff so they could eat like 5 of them.
I think that's myth, Shay.
That's not myth, man. There's pictures.
I think that's myth.
You think the American Indians
they
were
they love nature. They weren't just massacring hundreds of buffaloes. They followed the buffalo. That's what they were nomadic people because they followed the buffalo and they only killed what they needed. That's my opinion. Now,
look, neither one of us were there, so I'm talking like I know.
That's my opinion, and I hope my opinion is right. I hope they weren't just running herds off cliffs.
I mean, one wants to think that, but they were also they also practiced slavery. They practiced polygamy, and the man was allowed to. A brave could beat the hell out of his squaw.
What's a squaw?
His woman.
Oh,
wife is not really the right word because she was really a slave of his.
You don't think it's okay to go inside your wife's head when she don't listen?
I mean, my wife listens to this, bro.
What if she wasn't listening? Get up.
I don't know.
I'm not talking closed fist, Shane. I'm talking. No, I'm joking, y'all. I never put my hands on my wife. We've been married 17 years. I never put my hands on my wife.
I just think sometimes we glorify things that are different, and we don't really. There's not, we just say, "Oh, this is foreign." That makes it seem exotic. Therefore, it must be good.
Well,
and it's not necessarily.
Foreign makes it exotic.
It does make it exotic, but it doesn't make it good.
Exotic to us. It's not exotic to them.
Just because it's exotic. Yeah, there you go. And what we do would be exotic to them.
And And
you think about, that's don't make fun of this and so. That's a traditional, ancestral way of doing something. Okay, but we don't still do it that way because it doesn't work. You know what I'm saying? All right, think about some of the tribes of less sophisticated people from all over the world and some of the body modifications. A lot of it in Africa, a lot of it in South America.
You seen the neck ring people?
The neck ring thing.
The neck ring people where they extend their, like, that's a form of beauty and
Chinese people binding their feet.
So that they got the little
girls,
baby feet.
They actually break the bones of those little girls and then bind them where they won't come back again.
Yeah, that's just horrible, in my opinion.
In my opinion, I think that's horrible too. And just because something is exotic or comes from somewhere else doesn't necessarily make it something that we need to. We talk about the Mayan cultures. Do you know about the god called what was it, Baal? Baal, Baal or something?
Baal.
They had a statue of a quote unquote god that had its arms folded, and the way this thing was built, underneath of the folded arms, there was a cavity, and they would build a fire in there and get those arms red hot, and then they would sacrifice babies on this. This is historically documented. I burned the whole world down for Madeline. I know you would burn the whole world down for any of your kids. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's nothing. If you have a religion and it's convinced you to kill your kids,
pretty tough, Shay.
Come on, I've got strong words for any organized religion, and I would be happy to debate anybody. I would debate the most learned religious scholar.
What if I told you religion is made up?
I would 100% agree.
Everything is made up.
Religion is most definitely made up. For sure.
It's all made
up. But I can tolerate some religions, but if your religion means you got to kill kids, come on, man. Come on.
Right. That's tough.
Who taught you into this?
Yeah.
There's a story by an old author.
They look at it as sacrificing. I don't think they would consider necessarily killing. I think they would word it sacrifice, but that's what it is.
I'm sure they would.
It's killing. They'll say sacrifice, which people that is, I guess,
they like to call
more eloquent.
They like to call cutting off a young girl's genitals female circumcision too, but that's not circumcision. That's mutilation.
Sound like mutilation to me. We would look at it and be like, man, why you mutilate? You can't be mutilating little girls like that.
Different thing than circumcision. And we've had private conversations about circumcision and whether or not it's a good thing. But that's mutilating the genitals of a young girl. That's gross.
It's all
it's all made up.
But then you ask, why are we doing this?
And it goes
why
back
do we do this? Because somebody said we supposed to do this.
Somebody
else made it up. It goes back to it's
usually
all
somebody
made
in
up.
Authority. Or somebody that has put themselves in authority, and it's usually somebody that says that they can interpret holy instructions from some otherworldly power. The gods have decreed it. And then you look behind the curtain and you find out it's a fat little man.
You look behind the curtain.
Like the Wizard of Oz.
Yep. You get it.
There's an old story.
You peek behind the curtain.
You peek behind the curtain. That's all you got to do.
Behind the curtain, Jay.
There's a story called The Lottery by Shirley Jackson. Take about 12 minutes to read it. It's a very short story, but it's basically a story about a village that once a year has a lottery, and the winner or loser, as it may be, of that lottery, whether every person, man, woman, child in the town has to put their slip with their name on it or whatever into this particular, this whole, it goes on about the story, but one way or another, somebody draws it out, and whoever's name finally the winner of the lottery gets killed right there on the spot by the rest of the townspeople. They stone them. They throw rocks at them until they're dead. And this is a tradition, and every year they do this, and nobody knows how it got started or why it got started.
We don't even remember why no more.
But this is the holy tradition, and this is the way we do, and if we don't do this, everything bad will happen. Obviously, it's just a story, but think about the religious traditions that people... Is the world going to stop if you don't go to church on Sunday? There's people out there that say yes.
I would say something about that, Shay, that you mentioned that.
All right.
What if I told you Sunday is the most segregated day of the week?
Segregated in what way? Racially?
Based on religions.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We all go into our little cliques.
Whether no matter your color. You got black churches, white churches.
Yeah, I get you.
You got black Baptists, white Baptists.
Yeah, it's not about race. It's about a religious belief that you probably got from your parents. We are Methodists. That's where we come from. We are Church of God.
Catholics.
We're Pentecostal.
Exactly.
What kind of Christian
So what if
I
said Sunday is the most segregated day of the week?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
How would you feel about that statement?
I think that's an accurate statement.
It's a true statement.
Yep.
Everybody go their own.
And everybody thinks they're better than the other.
Everybody think theirs is right.
Well, them First Baptist people, they're not like us Methodists.
They got to wear dresses.
Look at them over there.
And they can't even dance and clap.
They got a piano in their church. Look at them.
Oh, they got a piano.
Yep.
This episode might reach some people. It might touch some people. Hopefully it makes some people think.
I hope it'll make you think. And here's what I've said.
Just because someone told you that that's the way it's supposed to be, don't mean it's the way it's supposed to be.
Doesn't mean it's the way it's supposed to be. Or that it even makes any sense. And a lot of times when you start asking why, you find out that the answer the question can't be answered. They can't tell you why it is that we believe this. And then they get mad. How dare you question faith? How dare you question God?
Oh, you better not question God.
If God is so great, then why can't he stand up to question?
Exactly.
Dun, dun,
he
dun.
Can't stand up. That's a good point, Shay.
If God is so great, why can't he stand up to question?
Why can't he answer my question?
Yep.
Give me an answer.
Because then it starts seeming like the guy behind the curtain. Do not question the great and powerful
and I'm not saying there's no validity to whatever you want to practice or believe in, but sometimes you got to step back and ask why.
If your religion is the crutch that keeps you from turning to alcoholism, beating your family, whatever it is, we all have something
right
that keeps us on those difficult days, those dark nights when we, you think, man, if I just kept going. You're driving home and you think, man, the interstate, there's my exit. What if I just kept going and never came back? Those dark nights, those thoughts that we've all had, never really would act on them. But if your faith, if your religion is what keeps you from making those bad decisions, then that's a great thing.
Yeah, agreed.
If your faith makes you hate somebody because they're different than you,
you might want to revisit your religion.
If your faith makes you feel like you have a right to kill somebody who's different from you because they don't believe what you believe,
right?
You might ought to reconsider what you think.
You might want to reconsider it.
If you're carrying signs, what was that Baptist church? It was like a real small faction, not Hillsboro, but West Side. Anyways, they would go and protest at soldiers' funerals. And what they were protesting was United States policies on homosexuality, especially after, I think, the Supreme Court decision that changed the definition of marriage from being between a man and a woman to being between whoever. So this is fairly
recently.
I think they're not doing this. They're not doing it anymore. The guy died. The patriarch of this church died. But the premise was they were trying to be noticed. Obviously they're trying to get noticed. So they would go to soldiers' funerals where a soldier has died. Let me be very clear about this. A soldier who fought for our country, who died in the act of fighting for his or her country, and these religious people would show up with their signs, and they would say they would have signs that said, "God hates fags," Thank God for dead soldiers. They would have these signs
Wow.
up, and they would say that these soldiers' lives were insignificant or meaningless because they were fighting for a country that had policies that accepted gay people. Yeah,
And that was their whole. That was the whole premise.
that was the whole premise. Yeah, of their thing, and they would come out there with bullhorns, and really, I mean, can you imagine? There were some bad scenes, and then what happened was a group of bikers got together.
Okay.
And I think they called themselves the Freedom Riders.
Okay.
And they would show up at these funerals, and they would make a line with their bikes between the protesters and the actual funeral goers, and they would make sure that the people in the funerals didn't have to hear these protesters.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them coming up with Harleys or whatever, and they'd rev them up or whatever. I was invited to ride with these guys. I never did. The Freedom Guard Riders, I think they called themselves, and they would show up when they would find out these folks were going to protest, and they would put a barrier between themselves, between the protesters and the people that were there to mourn their loved one, which I thought was a pretty
awesome.
Good way to handle the situation.
It is.
And they didn't bang any heads either, and that would be pretty tough not to bang somebody. Say what you want to, but we talking about a soldier that died.
Wow.
It's kind of surprising that nobody shot these guys, and I'm not advocating violence, but if you say thank God for dead soldiers, I definitely don't respect your God.
And your whoever loved one is that dead soldier.
Yeah,
that'd be tough.
I pretty much stay strapped, and I just don't know that would go over so well.
I mean, we live in America. We got the freedom of speech.
You have the freedom to speech,
we got the freedom to say and
you also have the freedom to get punched in the nose too.
That's true. That's true.
That's a tough thing.
I guess that's the good thing about this country.
But I think when it comes down to religion, if you look worldwide, everybody's got their faith.
Everybody got their
and
faith.
Everybody believes everybody else is wrong, and theirs is the only way.
That's crazy, ain't it?
And
when we say everybody, we're not just talking 1-2 different religions. We're talking
hundreds, thousands.
Yeah, hundreds of different beliefs, religions, traditions.
Think about throughout history.
Oh man,
how many people have been killed in the name of religion?
The Crusades. No telling how many people
no telling how many during the Crusades. That's just that one.
Killed,
that's just that one
incident. Yeah, that one time.
Okay, just think about what the actual Bible says. People don't think sometimes about. Okay,
I looked it up one time. How many people did God kill in the Bible?
I don't know that you could even.
You got it.
Hundreds
it went
of thousands.
On
hundreds of thousands.
No,
millions.
Billions probably. But when it says men in the Bible, it's only really talking about men. Then they was like, well, what if you add in, like, say that person had a wife, kids, stuff like that. Like it was saying the Bible only accounted for men.
I think
when
sometimes
you look up the number,
when the Bible says men, it means mankind.
But in this instance, it was saying like, he slaughtered all these men.
If you just think about the Israelites leaving Egypt, okay? So the story goes the Israelites were slaves in Egypt.
Correct.
And God set them free by the use of the plagues.
Oh, yeah, 7 plagues. It was like, I think 7 plagues.
I think it was 7 plagues also. Locust, darkness, and the last one was kids dying.
Yeah, kids
Firstborn
dying.
from every,
If
you didn't put the blood of the lamb over the door.
Yep, I know the story.
That's how Passover came, right?
Yeah.
So then these guys leave, and they go through the desert, and they wander around there. Well, the first thing they do when they leave.
They had to part the Red Sea first.
Had to part the Red Sea.
That was a good part of it.
And then, that's true.
They used the staff, part the Red Sea.
And then when the Red Sea came down, it killed how many Egyptians?
All them soldiers. The soldiers that was chased, that came, killed.
But these were soldiers, so you got to figure, okay, they died in battle.
They signed up for it.
So then they go to Jericho.
Remember
what happened in Jericho?
The walls of Jericho?
They killed everybody in Jericho.
Is that when they had to beat the drums? Or
whatever, they walked around the walls, supposedly the walls fell inward and everybody died. Except for the hooker. Except for the one hooker.
She was the one that was like passing a message or let them escape. She let them escape out the window when they went into the city. She hid them in her home, let them
Funny how these cats found, in this city, supposedly of a whole bunch of people, they found the one prostitute. That's who they hooked up with.
They probably, I'm not going to go there.
If you look at the Bible genealogies, her name was Rahab. And if you look at the Bible genealogies, she was a direct descendant, or Jesus was a direct descendant of hers. She was in Jesus' bloodline. Okay. The prostitute that saved,
Yeah, he could use I could use a donkey.
Y'all stop looking down your snide nose at people who are different than you is what I'm saying. So anyways, they kill everybody, man, women, and children. Don't forget this now. Men, women, and children.
Everybody.
Babies, everybody was slaughtered. in Jericho, and then they left there and they went to the land of Canaan, right?
Where the giants lived.
Where the giants lived. But what they do in the land of Canaan? They killed everybody.
Yeah.
Man, women,
Get rid of
child.
all them giants.
Killed the crops, killed the animals, killed everything. That was a bloodbath of a slaughter.
Yeah, we still in just the Old Testament.
Well, oh yeah, we're just talking about one episode.
Yeah, one episode of the Old Testament.
I think.
Well, you haven't even got to the good part, Shay. What about the flood that wiped out everybody?
Everybody
outside of Noah and his wife and 3 sons and their wives.
I mean, you could talk about Sodom and Gomorrah.
Turned the whole town to what? Brimstone, basically.
Fire and brimstone.
Fire
and
brimstone.
Them up. Yeah, burned them up.
So don't look back.
Except for Lot's wife.
No, she looked back.
She looked back as they were escaping. Turned to a pillar of salt.
See, we give y'all a Bible lesson. Yeah. I know what Bible.
But everybody knows about Lot's wife turning to a pillar of salt.
Everybody know why it turned to a pillar of salt.
Do you know what happened directly after that?
His daughters jumped his bone.
They go hide in the caves.
Yeah, they get him drunk.
And he impregnates both of his daughters.
Yeah. This is in the Bible. Y'all
there.
Go read it.
Go read it.
I read it myself, Shane.
They do the hippity dippity.
If I didn't read it, I wouldn't.
He gets them both pregnant.
Yep.
Now,
old
girl got turned to a pillar of salt for looking over her shoulder.
She looked back. He said, "Don't look back."
But Lot gets to do the hippity humpty whatever with his daughters.
It happened.
Get them both pregnant, and they are okay.
This is biblical.
Yeah.
Read your Bible. People read the Bible.
Read it for real.
For real. Yeah, you'll be amazed. You would be real surprised.
Surprised
what you read in the Bible.
When we were talking to Mr. Abolitionist Communist,
you really would.
And we had Zacchaeus in the room talking. There was a bunch of people there, but Zacchaeus was joining the conversation, and I remember the abolitionist communist also claimed to be a Christian. That seems like too tough thing to be, but
yeah, he did claim to be a Christian.
But when I pointed out that the Bible says, if a man won't work, neither let him eat.
Well, yes, okay.
Remember, Zacchaeus was like, that ain't in the Bible. God didn't say that. God's all about people. No, that's in there.
You don't work, you don't eat.
That's in there.
I mean, that's
along
pretty
with
plain.
A bunch of other things.
A whole bunch of other things.
But that's very plain
Especially
in there.
A capable man.
Everybody says, love and happiness and all that.
Turn the other cheek.
I came not to bring peace, but a sword.
A sword.
That's the red letter words.
To bring peace, but a sword.
I don't know.
The Bible's amazing.
It's tough.
The Bible has a lot of good stories in it.
The Bible has a lot of good stories.
So
does Don Quixote.
I think it has a lot of truth in it too. I'm not discrediting the Bible.
I would say there's wisdom.
A lot of wisdom.
There's a lot of wisdom.
Truth.
But I think that a person has to take. You have the ability to reason for a reason.
Correct.
And
a lot of parables.
There are very few things in the Bible there are very few thou shalt and thou shalt nots. Mm-hmm. There are very few of those. And most of it is a gray area, Some religions say, well, it's a sin to drink alcoholic beverages.
Well, Jesus turned water into wine.
That wasn't wine. That was grape juice. That was unfermented grape juice.
Is that what they say?
Yeah, of course that is. I mean, they got to say something, right? If they say that it's a sin to drink wine.
Okay, right? So we're not reading it for the letter. He didn't say grape juice. It said wine.
It says wine.
It says wine. It don't say nothing about no grape
juice. But everybody
juice.
believes but this is the right interpretation, and my interpretation is correct. And if you don't believe my interpretation, no, that's your interpretation.
Yes.
Did you know the Bible says that it's a sin to split wood?
Oh, I didn't read that one, Shane.
Oh, it says it, man, right there. It says, whatsoever therefore God hath joined together, let not man put asunder.
So wood. So
God made the tree, right?
That's how you interpret it.
God
like
made
that
the
means
tree.
You can't even split a piece of wood.
But you could interpret it that way if you want to.
You could.
There's some people that interpret the Bible as saying that if a rattlesnake bites them, they don't have to go get medical help.
Is that where the snake church come from?
Things.
The snake?
Yeah.
I would love to go to one of those services.
I've been to one.
Oh,
yeah, I've been to one.
Do tell, Shane. I want to go to one. Not saying that I will participate. I would just like to go and see the.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna call it a spectacle. I'm not trying to discredit their whatever they do, but that's what it would be to me.
Have you ever been to a charismatic church where they get up and dance and jump around and holler and speak in tongues or whatever? This is going to be real similar to that. People dancing around, but they do grab up rattlesnakes and
Ooh, that's tough.
Yeah.
And so the goal is not to get bit, of course. But if you do get bit, that means you're a sinner.
If you get bit, then God's supposed to make the venom not kill you or not harm you.
Oh,
wow. Yeah. If you get bit, you're supposed to refuse medical attention, and if your faith is strong enough, you'll be okay. But one of the reasons why there's not many snake handling churches out there is because they die off. Because
God gave you common sense not to
and
handle
there have been some court cases where non-custodial parent, one parent or another taking their kid to a snake handling church, and it ended up in the court. Like, hey, this is whatever. They don't let kids handle. I went one time.
Where did you go to one at?
This was out. I don't even remember, man. It was like 25 years ago. It was somebody I knew. He's like, hey, I know some folks.
Like
this
Georgia,
was way out.
Alabama,
this
Tennessee.
was here, like out towards Scottsboro and in that area, Sand Mountain or whatever. I don't even remember where this was. It was way out there. It was a tiny little church. There was probably 20-something people there. There weren't, the first word that'll come to your mind? Redneck. Redneck.
Yeah, I was gonna say hillbillies.
I'm gonna say it. Hillbillies.
Yeah, I was thinking more along the lines of
no tooth having. Green scum on their molars. These are not. They don't. It's not real smart folks, man. I'm just saying these are not the pick of the litter. Look, they should have built their outhouse a little further from the house. Is all I'm saying. The outhouse should have been further from the well. Because these folks might have some kind of. There's something wrong with that. But
bacterial parasite.
I suppose everyone has a right to do it the way they do it.
Yeah.
And as long as you're not involving kids or hurting somebody else, I like snakes. I have a snake in my living room, not a venomous snake. If it bites you, you'll just say, ouch.
Right.
But, something that potentially can kill you, and you're going to pick it up and say your faith is good. And you have seen somebody who got bit by one of these that died. You know of that, and yet you still believe that your faith is particularly strong enough to beat out science. Okay.
I made an observation in life, Shane, the other day.
All right.
Changing subjects.
Sure.
And so I do school events throughout the season.
Right.
So I would say maybe 5 times out of 10 when I do these school events, a guy, some male figure will come out and give me some extra money, or he would buy extra product for kids. I've never seen a woman do it.
Now, wait a minute. When you say he will come up and buy extra,
so I'm selling popcorn at the school.
Okay,
he'll say, "Okay, here's a 20. Give this to a kid that don't have nothing, or the kids that don't have nothing, or just I'm gonna buy 10 bags or 4 or 5 bags for the kids that don't have money to buy bags."
I got you. Okay,
a male. It would always be a male. I'm telling you, I never seen a woman do that.
Really?
Never at these schools that I go to. It's always a male figure that will pay extra for the kids.
What's your?
I don't know.
That's the observation. Yeah, I was going to say.
But it's
your
an
analysis?
It's a quiet test I've been running.
So what's your analysis of that data?
I think it's just ingrained in men to be providers and to look after,
especially financially. Yeah.
Yes.
I think it's ingrained in us to be the financial providers.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to get your take on it. Like, I go to these schools. I would say maybe 50% of the schools, it always would be a male that would come do what someone would do. Either give me extra money or buy extra product.
And this is in a school environment, so safety is not I think probably overwhelmingly men give money to panhandlers. Whatever money is given to panhandlers, bums, whatever you want to call it.
Typically might come from men.
I think it's probably mostly going to come from men, but I think there's a safety aspect in that. Usually you're going to meet this person on the street. A female might be more reluctant, but in a situation in a school, it's still, I think it comes down to that men feel a strong responsibility to provide financially. Mm-hmm. I think we innately feel a responsibility for safety and physical and financial safety. Is that maybe a good way to say it?
I think we came to the same conclusion. Yeah, the other conclusion I came to, women just selfish.
Oh,
I gotta say it.
Okay, but in the end, if the woman gives some money for the popcorn, she's really giving the man's money anyway, right?
That's true anyway.
One way or another, it's the man who's paying.
Yeah, it's the man paying.
I see it in my booth a lot. They come up and there'll be a whole family, and they pick out what toys they're going to get,
and who pull out the money.
And the father has been ignored through the whole process. But when it comes time to pay, boy, come on over here.
You're looking at him for the money.
All right, it's this much money.
That's just one thing I observed. Yeah. Like, I never seen a woman, and I'm looking for it. I'm like, man, I want a woman to come up and give me some extra money or buy more product. If anything, a teacher would be at her desk and send kids out to buy for her. It's You know, now I don't know if she's buying product for the girl or not, but it's for Miss Brown or Miss Smith or whoever.
Okay.
Here's 20. She wants a bag of this.
Let's hope she's sharing.
I will hope so.
Let's hope she's sharing.
But never one came up and said, okay, here's an extra 20 or let me get 10 bags for my class because some of them don't have.
Let me get the next 5 customers.
Never in the 3-4 years I've been doing this. Never. It's always a man.
Well.
Y'all need to step y'all game up out there.
Time to step up your game.
It's 2025.
Next time you see Q, buy 2 extra bags of popcorn. Just be like, look, the next 2 kids that come,
prove me wrong.
So
prove me wrong.
I used to manage fast food restaurants for a long time.
Correct.
And there used to be a trend going around where you pay for your meal and then you pay for the person behind you, like in the drive-through lane.
Pay it forward or whatever they call it. Pay it forward, yes.
I guess that'd be pay it backward, though, because they're behind you. Either way, yeah. But it's a pay it forward kind of thing. And sometimes that would go on. You know, somebody comes up to the window to pay and you say, oh, the person in front of you paid for you. And they say, okay, well, let me pay for the one behind me then.
Correct.
And it was always fun. Several times that went on for like an hour or more, where everybody, you know, you'd have 100 customers or more that all paid for the one behind it. And then there's always one that's either broke or the one, they're like, wait a minute. Their order was $27. Never mind. Let me just get my little egg McMuffin and move on. Right?
Correct.
Let the $27 pay for themselves. But it was always fun to do that. But I don't ever remember that being segregated in any way. That was just kind of like whoever you are. If you're in the drive-thru, you know, man, woman. It didn't really matter from that standpoint.
It would have been interesting to see like who would break it. You know.
But now, as you say that, it would have been fun to have written down some actual statistics.
On it, like who actually would break that pay.
Who's more likely to break it?
Who's more likely, women or men?
I think men are less likely to break it. I think the man is more likely to be like,
I know I could probably be in my last sentence. If someone did that for me, I'll be willing to pass.
Yeah. I think men feel a responsibility to provide in that way, safety and financial security. I think whereas a woman, I think, feels a responsibility to provide in a more nurturing capacity. If a child fell and skinned his knee and was crying, would a random woman walking by or a random man walking by be more likely to comfort the child?
The woman would.
I think so too.
Yeah, the man gonna be like, dude, shake it off. Get up.
Rub some dirt on it.
Yeah, throw some dirt on it, spit on it. You'll be all right.
As a man who doesn't know that child, I think I myself would feel a lot more reluctant to engage with a child that I didn't know, because I would be worried that someone would accuse me of some kind of nefarious, you're trying to lure that child away or whatever it is, whereas a woman, I think, would feel less trepidation approaching a strange child, because women are traditionally seen more as nurturers than we are. Nobody thinks about women as child molesters or child abductors, although it certainly happens a lot.
It definitely happens.
It happens a lot.
It definitely happens.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think it's just different roles. That's what I think. Different roles. It's like the whole gender pay gap. Oh, you want to go there?
Is there a gender pay gap?
I think it depends on how you look at it. What have you heard? What are your thoughts?
If I'm doing a harder job, I deserve more money. I mean, and typically men are doing the harder jobs. I'm the one out there with the jackhammer. Yeah. I'm the one laying the steel. I'm the one carrying the lumber. You don't see women doing those.
You don't see women doing those things. Nope.
And you might be on site just to clean. I'm putting it in aspects of construction because I've been in construction,
right?
And I've seen what women did in construction. Women typically in construction, they're the one cleaning up the site.
After the fact.
After the fact.
After
the guys are the one out there smashing their fingers with nails, getting dust in their eyes, whatever, walking through concrete, carrying rebar. We're the ones out there doing that type of work.
For sure. There's not too many women on oil derricks.
Correct.
And nobody bitches about the gender pay gap for garbage men. And notice, nobody bitches if I say garbage men.
You ever seen a garbage?
It's garbage people.
You ever seen a garbage woman?
No, I ain't never
never seen a woman on a garbage truck in my life.
Now, with most garbage trucks being automated, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a woman driving.
I still never seen a woman.
I don't know if I have, but I haven't really looked. But when it comes time to get out of the garbage truck and throw cans up into the back of it, nobody gives a shit about gender equality.
I'm pretty sure nurses make the same equally, typically, or I'm pretty sure the pay gap is pretty balanced across the board. I'm pretty sure male nurses aren't making just as more than female nurses.
So this is anecdotal because it's just my own personal experience. But I was 30 years in the restaurant business, and the vast majority of that was in a supervisory capacity of some kind.
Right.
And the vast majority of that, I was hiring, firing, setting wages, giving raises. I was responsible for the payroll of 100 people within my restaurant. That would be managers and, just regular counter, normal employees that you would see at McDonald's, everybody from there. My peers were other restaurant managers. So, we were all making pretty good money, and I know what they made. We drank together. We went out together, whether it was male, female.
Was it a gap?
There was no gap, no.
Now, if you've been here 10 years longer than me, you would expect to make a little bit more money.
But I was usually, especially towards the end of my career, I was one of, if not the highest paid manager there. But I'd been around for a long time, and I had experience and what have you. And you can also look at accolades. Well, this person's been to this class and that class. They won this award. You might get a raise for doing different things. But I never saw it. The only time I was ever aware of it on a bigger scale was there was a manager in Birmingham who was discriminating against females in pay. He was not a manager. He was like a director of operations. He would be in charge of store managers. Whoever's in charge of the store, this guy was in charge of all of those, maybe 30 or 40 different restaurants. And he was intentionally underpaying female employees. And when the company found out about it, they fired him, they went back through payroll and did their best to adjust, and a lot of these women got checks. Wow. So the point is that
So this was an outlier, though.
This was an outlier.
This is most definitely an outlier.
Scale in 30 years, I saw that one time, and that was a long time ago. We're talking this was at least 25 years ago that this happened. So I'm not saying that it never happens, but I'm saying that in today's climate, that it usually gets found out and corrected pretty quickly. That number that you always hear about.
I think it's just a talking point, Shane. I don't think that it's something that's really happened.
That number that you hear that women make 70% of what men make.
And that's pretty general, though. What are we talking about?
Well, I know a little bit about it.
Construction,
what happens,
from my point of view.
Well, what that is that's every woman in the United States of working age, or maybe that's working, whatever, and every man in the United States that's working. And it's not even about whether they're working. It's every man and women of working age. Take how much they make all together. The men make $9 million. The women make $8 million.
Okay,
but it doesn't take into effect men taking the type of jobs that pay more, whether they're more dangerous or whether they're more upwardly mobile.
Type of jobs.
Back to type of jobs. Men on the average work several hours a week more than women work. So that's part of it. And that also doesn't take into account women that make a choice to stay home and raise a family rather than work in a job that brings money. We put value on the size of the paycheck. But what about that woman who's a stay-at-home mom? Because she's in those numbers, that 70%, that takes into account the woman who's chosen not to work a job for money. So when you take all those things into effect, and let's be honest, women tend to move towards jobs that are compensated more in other ways than money. For instance, school teachers.
Correct.
You become a school teacher not to get rich, but because you want to help, to make a difference, to do something better in life. And, school teachers kind of gets in my craw. I don't want to disrespect any school teachers.
Why do school teachers get in your cross, right? Come on.
First of all, because in public school, I think a lot of it's a joke, and I don't necessarily...
The public fool system.
The public fool system.
That's what I call it, the public fool system.
I 100% believe that I could have skipped all of high school and it not affected my life or my education in any detrimental way. I could have skipped all of high school. Now, I'm a curious guy who reads stuff and tries to find things out, and I know not everybody is that way, but high school was really a giant waste of time, I really think.
So would you put your daughter in school?
We're still
public school.
We're still deciding that. I can't imagine making her go through high school in public school.
It's been a talking point in our home.
I can't imagine making her go through high school in public school.
We want to put our kids, but I think it's some social aspect that comes there. When you put them in school.
There is, although. Man, listen, you know what?
There's some good to it. Because those homeschool kids are kind of weird. I done seen them. The ones that's been homeschooled their whole life. That's just been with like mom, dad, and brother, sister.
Sometimes you got to take into effect that those are a lot of times ultra religious families, and they've been taught some crazy shit. But they can be a little weird.
They like
public schools
you can see them coming a mile away too, though. Like you like, oh, you could tell the kids that's been homeschooled their whole life.
You know who else is weird?
Me?
Elon Musk.
Oh, Elon Musk weird.
Mark Zuckerberg. Jeff Bezos.
And they all dropped out of school, though.
They all dropped out of school.
They all dropped out of school.
Weird people end up a lot of times doing good things, and I think part of it.
Bad people end up doing good things too.
You send these kids to school,
doing good
and we say socialize, but they're taught by the other kids not to reach too high.
Oh yeah, old crab in the bucket.
Old crab in the bucket.
Old flea in the bowl.
It's not cool to be smart.
Not cool to be smart.
It's not cool to do your homework. It's not cool to. Well, no, those things are cool.
Mm-hmm.
But when you start sending kids to public school, I think sometimes they start getting those attitudes that, I think public schools enforce public fools. They enforce mediocrity.
They do.
They enforce mediocrity, and I felt no challenge, especially in high school. I felt no challenge whatsoever. There was absolutely no challenge to it. I never did homework. I never did. I've told the story about how I skipped all of my final exams my senior year and just skipped school completely.
What was your GPA when you graduated?
I don't care. I got a diploma.
Remember? I got my diploma.
I have no idea. Let me ask you this.
I got a diploma.
As an adult, how many times have you had to prove that you went to high school?
Some applications require, like, did you graduate high school? But you never had to prove it. Yeah, you never had to prove it.
Could you put your hands on your diploma from high school now if you had to?
I could.
Me neither.
I could spell my name, and I could fill out this application. Yeah. Yes, check. I went to high school.
Yep.
I graduated. Check.
Yep.
Diploma.
Yep. Makes absolutely no difference whatsoever. And I truly think that it's more waste of a time than it is good.
It's just social training.
It's social training.
Social training.
Step and fetch it. Do what the man says, regardless. Don't try too hard. Don't
gotta be on time.
Don't get ahead of your classmates. Stay in line.
Stay in line. No critical thinking. They might mention critical thinking, but they don't want to think critically.
They don't want you to think critically.
I always challenge my kids to try to think outside the box and be themselves and create what you want to create. You don't gotta follow the herd. Do what you want to do. What do you think about this? Not what do my friends think.
There's a bumper sticker, well-behaved women rarely make history. Well-behaved anybody rarely make history. Rarely make history, And when you look at people that do, the Elon Musk thing has got me bugged right now.
The revolution would not be televised.
Would not be televised.
It won't be televised.
It will not be televised.
No.
But, you think about some of the backlash that we're seeing from people about Elon Musk and what he's doing up there.
Okay.
And you hear, one of the funniest things to me is listening to millionaires talk smack about billionaires. Bernie Sanders has talked all kinds of smack about Elon Musk. Hey, Bernie Sanders, you have never built anything in your life. Hey, Bernie Sanders, you have never made anything that changed the world in any way. And now you're going to talk smack about someone who's literally changing the world as we speak. As we speak. This person is a billionaire because he's been successful over and over and over again. And nobody wants to talk about the months and months that Elon Musk spent sleeping on a couch in the Tesla factory while he was building a business. Nobody wants to talk about that. They just want to demonize what he's doing up there. Okay, well, you know what? You know who I want looking for abnormalities in the books? A dude that's built 3 massive businesses successfully and who's literally changing the world. We got a bunch of people who have never done anything other than sing Kumbaya. You came straight out of college and you become a political machine.
And they haven't changed.
And that's all you've ever done. You've never built anything in your life. Sit down and shut up. What was that? Remember Pretty Woman?
Pretty Woman.
Walking down the street, pretty woman. What a great song.
That is a good song.
Remember that movie, Richard Gere? All he ever did was buy companies and tear them apart?
Yeah.
Back to Richard Gere, Mr. Gerbil, man.
That came full circle, Shane. This episode that came full circle.
Proctology has come back around.
It has. That came back.
I don't know. I think that the best marker of a person is what have they done. And I want people in charge who have done something.
A lot of things, it's not even what you say. Like, I had this conversation with my wife the other day. Like, I always joke with her, talk junk with her. And she's like, yeah, but you always do this and that. I'm like, do I really? No, but you say it. Okay. But what do I do?
What do I do?
I just joke with you.
Right.
That don't mean I'm actually going to do whatever I'm joking about. You see what I actually do.
And I think it's funny, too, to see some of the jokes that I've seen in the media.
What are my actions?
What are my actions? Yeah. Showed up every night, didn't you?
Yep.
I guarantee you ain't never not come home at night because you was out drinking with your buddies.
If I did, maybe once.
I mean, not unplanned.
I mean, handful of times.
Yeah.
In the 17 years, we talking 17, 18
As a
years.
young man,
maybe
a
handful of times.
At the most.
Yeah. You can count on one hand how many times I did not come home. You can probably count on 2 fingers.
I never have not come home that I wasn't planning on not coming home. Like I might, hey, we're going to, whatever it is, but,
right.
Or
no,
as a young man,
you can't even count. Saying it was one incident I remember.
The point I was trying to get was not. It was trying to be. You were always there. I started
thinking,
what have you done? You're
what
always
have I done?
there.
What are my actions?
You're always there.
I'm always here.
You're always there. You can be counted on.
Yep.
You're a man who can be counted on.
Yep. Not what I say. I might say, I don't want to do it. I don't want to be. I might talk a lot of junk.
That was in the Bible.
I might wolf a whole bunch.
When that Cain and Abel, wasn't that what started the whole thing in the first place?
I think it was over a bowl of soup or something.
It was
and the birthright. He sold his birthright to Cain was the oldest. Cain gave up his birthright for a bowl of soup.
A bowl of stew. Yeah.
Bowl of stew or something to Abel. I think that's how the whole thing got started.
And then Cain killed Abel, right?
Cain definitely killed Abel.
Such a violent book.
It is.
Such a violent book.
Hey, if you out there, Google how many people died in the Bible by the hand of God.
By the hand of God, yeah.
You would be amazed.
And then
you'll be like, God is a mass murderer.
And then start rethinking
the biblical God.
God. Oh, for sure.
A mass murderer. He killed way more people than the devil. I'm going to say that, and that's a fact.
And remember, all those people were supposedly his children, right?
He killed more people than the devil, Shane. Who was the bad guy in the Bible? If you read the Bible, who's the bad guy in the Bible?
So
this is a fact. And this is something people don't want to. They don't. People.
The devil takes their souls
when they get the belief. Belief makes you not question why.
Yeah.
It automatically put that wall up and just accept what you've been told.
Just accept it.
Even if the facts don't even line up.
Because God is good and the devil is bad. But really, that's a good point. Bad. Remember,
I don't even think that the devil killed no one in the Bible.
You remember Job?
I don't think
he killed. No, the devil definitely killed people in the Job situation.
No. The devil. I don't think the devil did it. God did it.
God allowed it to happen.
God allowed it to happen.
But the devil killed his.
Devil got permission.
The devil had to get permission
to allow it to happen.
To kill, yeah.
So,
and it was really, and that was just a pissing match. It was just a pissing contest. God was like, "Ha, look there, devil. See my man Job
still ain't gonna curse.
He's a great guy.
He ain't gonna curse me no matter what you do."
Yeah.
He did give it back to him. I think 7-fold or whatever.
Okay.
He went from 1 wife to 3 wives and
killed his family.
5 kids to
killed his whole family.
Kids. Yeah. Wiped them all
because
out.
But then he multiplied God and the devil. Yeah.
But does that make it right?
God is love. They sing this. They sing this on Sunday mornings.
I challenge people
about God is love. But when you start really looking at it, God acts more like a spoiled 12-year-old boy who needs
all you have to do is Google how many people did God kill in the Bible. And the number will blow your mind.
Don't question God.
Don't question God.
He can kill his own children if he wants to.
If he wants to.
And you show up on Sunday and worship, whether you like it or not.
Whether you like it or not.
Folks,
I believe in a higher power. I don't want people to think
for sure.
Q just a heathen.
And again,
I believe in a higher power. But who's
if your religion is peaceful,
yeah,
and it doesn't hurt other people around you, and it keeps you on the straight and narrow, as it were, then more power to you.
Yeah. I would say I'm not religious, I'm spiritual.
But I'll leave you with a question when it comes to religion, then I'm going to change the subject.
Go ahead, Shay.
I forgot the question I was going to ask.
Oh, it done slipped your mind.
It's going to come to me at a random moment here just in a second.
It does slip your mind, Shay.
All right, so here's the question.
Okay, you got it.
If God is love, then why is it that everybody wants to put the fear of God in you?
There you go.
Why should you be afraid of an entity that supposedly is love? Why should you be afraid of that? I'm going to leave the religious thing with that.
That's a hell of a question, Shay.
Listen, man, we're about to start our market season.
Golly, Shay.
Next weekend, this coming up weekend. Today is Monday.
This Sunday.
And this Sunday we started the camp, and I've got the NECA, Northeast Alabama Crafters Association. It's actually Craftsmen's Association.
Say that a handful of times.
That starts this week, as a matter of fact, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at the VBC, although this episode will come out after that. Yeah.
I think so.
Got my van out, did a nice tune-up on it. I had a little miss.
Is she purring?
She's purring good now. I had a little miss.
Purring like a kid.
A little off-idle hesitation, as it were. But me and my son tore into it, and we did a full tune-up on it. Turns out it was
plugs, wires.
It was the rotor cap and button. The rotor cap and button were in bad shape, man. I tried to clean them up, and it just made it worse.
No, yeah, you just.
Yeah. You always try to clean them up.
They cheapen up.
$30 for the cap and button.
Yep.
I did an air filter, plugs, wires, rotor cap and button. And I'm fixing to do an oil change. I'm going to Atlanta, not this coming weekend, next weekend. And I'm going to do an oil change before I go.
Wow.
But yeah, it's
you ready to go?
She's running smooth now. Running smooth. I'm pretty happy about it.
You know, Mr. Producer Man tried to kick us out of here, Shay.
He is trying to kick us out of here. He's been giving. You notice how I kind of turned away from him a little bit. I gave him the cold shoulder.
You did turn your shoulder on. You can't even, where he can't just act like we can't see him, and we just keep talking. Look, I kind of got behind the pole.
Get behind the pole a little bit.
You turned your back to him. We just go.
Look, we hadn't even really got started telling our stories.
I don't even know where we had been.
We saw our friend Danica at the coffee shop and probably sit out there for.
Story. I don't know. Yeah, we talked about her. We shot her out.
We shouted her out, but we sat there and talked with her for probably 45 minutes. Yep. We probably sat there for 20 minutes before you pulled up.
Yep,
and then, yeah.
Wow.
Stories need to be told, man.
Stories need to be told.
Nobody tells these stories anymore.
Some things need to be talked about.
And sometimes you got to put it out there. And question everything. If you question,
please ask why.
Yeah, just ask why.
Do not be afraid to ask why. Why do we do this?
Question everything.
Who said we had to do this? Question it. Ask why.
I'm gonna tell a quick story.
Might be surprised what you might find.
And then I want some words of wisdom.
Ooh, I don't know, Shane.
I'm gonna tell a quick story.
I had to dig deep last week. I gotta.
All right.
I gotta get in my socks.
Well, I'll give you a minute to think of it.
Okay.
Maybe think about socks being turned inside out.
She turned my socks inside out.
So, there's a young man and a young woman. Okay. They've gotten married. They've gone on their honeymoon, and now it's Sunday. And she's going to cook her first Sunday dinner for her new husband. Okay. She wants to get this right. You know, it's important. This needs to be a good meal. So she decides to go with a pot roast because, you know, you got some leeway there. You're probably not going to mess up a pot roast. And who doesn't love a pot roast, right? So she gets the pot roast out. It's Sunday morning, and she's getting it prepared. And she pulls the piece of meat out and lays it on the cutting board. And she cuts the end off of it and then puts it in the pan and sets the end of it off to the side. And her husband is there. He says, "Sweetheart, I'm not questioning your cooking skills or anything, but I don't understand why you cut the end off of the roast and put it to the side before you put it in the pan. Why not put the whole roast in there?" And she said, I don't know. That's the way my mama always did it. He said, "Well, you know what? Just for kicks, let's call your mom." He said, "All right." So they called her mama up. Said, "Mama, why you always cut the end of the roast off before you put it in the pan?" She said, I don't know. That's the way my mama always did it.
Wow.
Now we're on a conference call with Grandma. Grandma answers the phone. "Grandma, why you always cut the end off of the roast before you put it in the oven?"
I think I know the answer.
It's a family tradition. Grandma starts laughing her ass off.
I know the answer.
She said, "Child, I grew up in the Depression. We didn't have but one pan. It wasn't big enough for the whole roast."
Big enough for the whole roast, yeah.
Question everything. Yep. Why are we doing this?
And they thinking this is how it's supposed to be done.
This is how it's supposed to be done. And this is the way we've always done it.
Because they just didn't have a damn pan.
This is the way we've always done, always done, always done. This is the way we've always done, and we will always do this.
I think that's the wisdom right there, Shane. Wow.
I don't know, man.
Hey.
Always question.
Wow. Because our damn pan was too small.
Pan was too small.
And then it just carried over.
But be careful questioning. What was the guy that first said that the universe moves around the sun instead of the earth? They burned him at the stake for it.
Oh, they burned his ass up.
All right.
That blasphemy.
What you going to leave us with, Q?
Oh, you want me to follow up what you just
follow up, man. I know you got something.
All right, Shane.
And remember, folks, if it resonates, let it marinate. If it doesn't apply, let it fly.
Shane.
Go, Q.
Look, Shane, I'm gonna just tell y'all that we all live two lives. And the second one starts when we realize we only have one. And that's Confucius.
Works for me. This is Vendor Chronicles. Peace.
I was like, should I?